Welcome to the Some Laugh podcast.
It could be like, oh, that was some laugh, or there was just some laughs.
Some laughs.
Well, no promising all laugh.
No, there's going to be some.
It's some laugh. Well, it'll be interesting to see by the time this goes out whether or not Twitter is actually still going to exist, basically.
Is that happening? Is that? I don't know how much of this is sort of sensationalized.
Yeah.
Well, basically what has happened is obviously Elon Musk has bought Twitter, and then it looks like he's made a right cunt of it, basically. Because, do you know, he didn't actually want to buy it, but see, Elon Musk, right, he's full of fucking shite, allegedly, in case he sues me. But he is, and like, so he made some offer, because he's like one of these like pure guys that's obsessed with like 420, is like thinking that's the most hilarious thing ever.
Oh, really?
And like, you know, 69 and that. So he like
he's just a wee guy with lots of money.
He
Get
is.
him on the podcast, come on.
But he's trying to suck his own cock. But
He'd be teaching you guys a thing or two about smoking the old wacky back.
But he basically offered to buy Twitter shares for, it was something like 420 per share or something. So it meant it was like $44 billion. And so he ended up like, because he'd said
Because
that.
of 420?
I
pretty
didn't
much.
even know this was part of that.
So like
mental.
he bought it for like well over what it was estimated at, and then the Twitter people, and then he kind of like signed a thing or whatever. There was some contract that basically, because he'd said all this and agreed to it, he couldn't back out, and he tried to back out because he's like, this isn't worth this much money, and then he found out about these bots and all that is what he said, and they're like, no, you have done this now. You need to buy it. So he's bought Twitter, and now like, all the staff have quit and all this sort of stuff. And
Did
that's
they not
why
sack this stuff? No.
some of them get sacked and then loads of them have quit like the day. So
You
it's
know
an
what makes
ongoing
me think
story.
of is, you know, in Alan Partridge when he needs to scale back Pear Tree Productions and it's in his office and he presses it. You're sacked too. Get your coat.
It's just
Big
him and
Partridge
fucking
vibes.
Jill going to the oil sanctuary or whatever.
Lovely Jill.
But so basically he's made a right cunt of it, and then so I think part of the reason why they were offering like the $8 to get verified and stuff was to try and get some money back. But it's what it does with Tesla and all this stuff. Like Tesla, as far as I'm aware, and I have done a wee bit of, well, I've listened to some podcasts on it. I was going to say reading.
That's research.
That's research.
It's not reading.
But Tesla is like a company that's completely based on its stock market value. So like they barely made any cars ever, and it was like always this like dodgy shit, and like they nearly went bankrupt a couple of times, and he managed to pull it out. So like you see more of them now, like kicking about like in Glasgow and stuff like the Teslas, but basically they like, see, compared to like a normal car company, they make basically hardly any motors, but they've got like the most like fucking.
But are they expensive?
I think they're expensive, and it's like the highest, like one of the highest valued companies in the world. But it's all based off of speculation and bullshit, smoke and mirrors and bullshit, basically. Right. And so that he is a bit of a fucking carnival barker, Musk, I think. And then he does all this like crazy stuff all the time to try and kind of keep in the headlines. He's effectively like a tech version of Trump, basically, where it's like a lot of shit. So he's now bought Twitter, and then obviously already is he just says things all the time that don't become true. Like, see, when he went on Joe Rogan, he was talking about this, like, they've got this thing called Neuralink, and he's like, yeah, within 6 months we're going to be able to read people's minds, and it's just like, it just says shit that's obviously never going to happen. And then he does it, but with the Twitter thing, because he said that they've forced him to buy it, and now
Back your chat.
No, he's fucked. So it'll be interesting to see what happens with it. So by like the time this comes out, Twitter might not even be a thing anymore, or maybe it'll have all just blown over and some other cunt will have bought it or whatever. Or they've probably just, I think what might end up happening is they'll just put everything kind of back to the way it was. And they've already got rid of that Twitter Blue thing today.
No,
I don't even understand what's going on here. So there was 2 different verified check marks or something.
So they were going
These 2 verified.
No. It's weird.
I was going to use it as a smoke screen to pretend that I was. I don't want to be a dick about it and pay the £8.
What you were able to do is click on the wee tick, and if you were verified, it would come up as either this person's verified because of a valued news source, blah blah blah, or this person paid for it, basically. So it kind of already takes the value away from it. There's also people that are verified, like we know and stuff, that like they must have just asked for it, and then I think if you've got like a few news articles written about you can. Turns out the Clydebank Post is not enough of a thing, because I have tried. Aye, but anyway, so they've got rid of this thing that you can do that now with the verification, because I think they realised how much shit it was going to cause, because I seen in it was the ones like Tony Blair, people like just kidding on they were Tony Blair and George Bush now, and they've got like blue check marks because somebody's paid £8 on it, and it's just it's nuts.
Fucking clown town, isn't it?
Aye.
Would you be sad to see it go?
It's depressing. It's a fucking depressing
It is fucking
place.
depressing, isn't it?
But it is useful for like selling tickets and promotion and stuff. So it's hard.
Yeah,
It's
where
a
most of my
necessary
followers are,
evil. Yeah.
it's a weird thing because it's probably the thing that I'm the least good at, Twitter, I would say.
Yeah.
But it's the thing I probably read the most because you always want to see what's in the news, what people are joking about. It is kind of like that, you know, to coin a phrase, this is my idea. It's almost like a town square, guys, if you're honest. And it's like, imagine someone wanted guitar lessons. How wild is that, by the way, that fucking...
That's funny as fuck.
Did that ever come out? What happened with that James Corden thing? Did one of his writers just purposely throw him under the bus?
I don't know, actually. I never looked
Could
at
not
it
care
much
less.
into
Yeah.
it. It's funny either way that if it was like a writer who
Ricky
threw him
Gervais,
under the
right?
bus.
It was Ricky Gervais's
Yeah.
bit, aye.
Or if he just fucking blatantly... Imagine that it was just parallel thinking and he just had that exact same thought and he'd never seen the bit.
guitar
Two of the
guitar
shitest
lessons
guys in
is
the
the
world.
bit that's like the I know. Guitar lessons is like the bit that's like, why would you pick that out of all the things you could possibly say? But
Yeah.
I think it's one of his writers stitching him up.
it's got to be
Yeah.
because there's a lot of stories about him being a cunt allegedly.
Allegedly.
But even at that, like the writer, that'll come back to the writer and they won't basically work again, I would imagine. Was
Maybe
it
get a
case?
job
What
for
choice
Ricky
it
Gervais.
But surely, like, no one would trust that writer, like, again.
Kind of
Maybe
bang out,
somebody
innit?
that's got nothing to lose just went, fuck it, I'm just, you know, I've got something better. Maybe they do stand up or whatever. Like, fuck you.
Yeah. Or I'd imagine, like, the time pressure for a lot of these things is immense. So these are just like, oh, need to give them some shit.
Aye.
I've seen this.
I
He'll
was
probably
really-
know use this.
Yeah.
You know, sometimes just padding out his fucking A4 bit of paper with stuff, and he's like, hopefully he
It's not
doesn't
gonna
use
make,
this.
this is shite, this ain't gonna make it. But it's gonna make it look like I'm trying.
Oh no, they've ended up
In
using
over my head. That's like something you would do. It spirals out of control.
But with Twitter, everyone always complains, oh, this is the health site and all this shit, and you're like, I think people overblow how much they hate social media things as well. As much as it is depressing to go on and stuff like that, like, you don't need to post on it, and you can just kind of read what other people are saying, and then, you know, if you really are getting that bothered, you can just stop looking at it.
I think that's the worst thing about it though, when you just doom scroll and you're just reading what other
It's
people
so
are
easy
saying.
to do that, isn't it?
I think the best way to use it would be for like comedians is post your tweet or whatever
Post and
and
ghost.
never look at it again. Yeah.
I think one of the worst things about Twitter now, though, is that, like, you don't just see the people that you follow, you always see, like, if
It's
Stuart
crazy, man.
McPherson has liked this, or just
And I'm
people
like
who,
any old shit.
I know,
Sorry.
people who follow this, you know, might also like this, and it'll just show you tweets for things that you shouldn't even really see. So you just see all this fucking lot of shite, and so you get all that Twitter patter, even like American Twitter patter or whatever.
Yeah.
You see it even if you don't follow any of these people like that.
I only get like 3 or 4 different things now. I get Simpsons album covers. Tweets about Arctic Monkeys written in Spanish. And
Is that
like,
you, like-
shirts that go hard. That's like all I get now.
Were you like doing the wee translation thing for the Spanish
Click it,
ones
yeah.
before the album was released?
Yeah.
See the amount of times I have seen Sophie Corcoran come up. This mad right
Who's
wing
that?
lassie. She's about 19, right wing lassie. That's, I don't even know what she's on GB News or something. And I'm sure I have purposely went when I've seen it. It's like based on your likes all this stuff. I purposely went like show less of this,
Right.
and I still see it all the time.
I think you need to mute
Like
them
you
or
need to
block
mute
them.
or block, but
It never used to be like that. The ratio of shit I'm seeing now that I've not followed, which is the whole fucking point of Twitter. The ratio's off the charts now.
and it's just
Yeah.
going to be interesting. It'd be interesting to see what happens though if it did just completely fold, and then you just about that, like, so people are going to that Mastodon one.
Which I honestly thought I thought they were talking about the heavy metal band Mastodon when everyone was talking about it to begin with. I was fucking confused.
I actually got it just because usually see if there's like a new thing that people are going to, I'll just go on and sign up to try and get my username in case it ever gets big. So I went and done
That's
that.
smart. I'm still waiting for Stephen Buchanan on Twitter to pop up. It's a cunt who's tweeted once in like 2009.
Mate, I'm gonna say mate at Mark Jenko, and it's like it's just a blank thing except for one tweet from like 10 years ago. It just says look, and then it's like a dead link to like a website, and it's clearly a bot. It's not got a profile picture. It's got 15 followers, never done anything. And I'm like, occasionally I just go in and like report it and try and get it deleted.
I do that as well.
To be honest, see if Elon Musk could just get rid of @Marchenko and get me at all is
£8 for
forgiven.
that, you'd take it, wouldn't
Be
you?
fucking buying a Tesla and a bother.
So what is Mastodon?
I don't know. I don't know.
Well, I downloaded it and it's like an alternative version of Twitter, but I couldn't find anyone. I'd seen CMB signed up for it, so I tried to find him. Couldn't find him. Couldn't find MD. Couldn't find any whatever they call tweets or anything.
Toots, I think they call it.
Fuck's sake.
That's the difference. Toots.
Hiya, Toots. Seen that video of the old guy opening the door to his granddaughter?
No.
Hiya, Toots. It's just that, on like she's made like a supercut of him. Hiya, Tootsy. Me and my sister watch it, it's funny.
Hello. Hello.
But anyway, so it would be interesting to see what happens with the old Twitter.
It had a good run.
Aye. I remember I got it like fucking 2008 or something when it was kind of just
Yeah.
becoming
That's
a thing.
you're an early adopter, didn't you?
me
Like
too,
2012.
But I only got it because there was a lassie that I fancied who had it. And that's the
You
reason why I
replied
got
to
it.
original reply guy every one of her tweets.
But no, because I didn't want her to know. so I'd like my original handle was like Golden Boy B or something like that. And I was like, so that's how I never got Stephen Buchanan.
Because
Like,
you could have got it.
I could have got. I was in there first.
You try going
never done
incognito on your.
Alternate reality where you're married to her and you've got your own name as your handle.
I know.
See, even back then, you
Well,
knew
probably
not
right.
to be horny on main. You had a wee
Exactly.
burner account or whatever.
Yeah, but it sounds creepy. I wasn't like fucking messaging her through this weird account. I did put my name on
What
it.
were you doing? Just keeping an eye out.
I just thought I would get to know her
You
interests.
you're trying to hack her.
No, I was just letting it seem what she was interested in. Up to but then there was like big celebrities and stuff started following because like no one.
Aye.
There was like who's the mad? It's a director of who does like the American Office episodes and stuff.
Right.
Who followed me, and I didn't know what that was at the time, so I just didn't follow him back.
Paul Feig.
Paul Feig,
You're ghosting Paul Feig.
yeah, and then
He's
then,
like, this boy is golden. I'm following him.
You could have been
follow
in the
him.
all-female reboot of Ghostbusters if you played your cards right.
and then I never followed him back, and then I checked recently, and he's not following me anymore. So he obviously seen that I dinged him.
I know you're a viral sensation. He's fucked it.
He's
Probably
fucked
unfollowed
it.
when you were just tweeting about like playing fives and stuff back in the day.
Yeah,
It used to be fun though at the beginning.
Yeah. It was a stage where it was a bit like the Wild West, and you didn't really know him there, and that's where they get all these people for these mad tweets for the past.
tweets
when
for
they
the back, like,
just thought that they could say anything, and
Yeah.
there would no be any consequences. But
and it's even stuff that it's not that bad. Like Mary Black got done for
Yeah.
saying maths is shite or whatever.
aye, when she's literally like a fucking teenager in high school or whatever, so
Yeah,
it's a bit unfair because I think like. Again, we always go as like we're the last generation to kind of know have this, and there's a wee bit of an online footprint for us, digital footprint for us. But I think like, see, growing up with like potentially a record of everything you've ever said, for whenever you've been old enough, like 7 or something, to fucking be online, been saying, see if my MSN chat logs ever get leaked.
been fucked.
Asking for fan pics and all that. I don't think I've ever done that.
Aye, you did. Everyone did.
I definitely never got one. I don't know if I requested one, but no, do you know what I mean? So it's like I feel bad for like young folk now because
It's
you've got to make
nuts, innit?
mistakes, and if you
Yeah.
make them in a place that's public and permanent and forever,
Yeah.
then if you then decide you want to go and become the fucking first minister, then you're fucked.
Aye.
Do you know what I think a problem is about Twitter as a news source, right? Is that, see, whenever you see any tweet, like there's no sort of hierarchy of importance. So everything's on the one single timeline. So often you'll get like news stories and it's some daft celebrity story or whatever, or just stupid tweets and they're juxtaposed with things about politics or whatever. But see, in a newspaper, like this occurred to me when I was in the Barbers a while ago and I was reading the newspaper and I thought, this isn't a thing anymore. Like on the newspaper, you've got a page 1 story and then it's like page 2, page 3. And then, but what you see on Twitter, you can see a page 36 story that would normally be a wee tiny column in the corner of a paper. That's a tweet as prominent as any tweet that would be about the Prime Minister or, fucking Russia or something like that.
Yeah.
So all of a sudden, everything's flattened. and everything seems as important. So then, and then all of a sudden you can see that and you go, oh my God, what's the news coming to the day? But no, it's maybe just a fucking page 36 story.
But does it not, like, if it's got, say, 100,000 likes, that'll come up first in your feed, maybe?
Then obviously the stuff that's then becoming popular becomes the thing that's prominent, as opposed to, I suppose, with the whole thing with the news is that obviously they've got their own biases and stuff, but with a newspaper, they're not putting, fucking some bullshit like we hang about fucking Les Dennis or something on page 1, unless he's really done something bad. But do you know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah, no, I know.
So there's just, nowadays, everything seems like, it's just like constant stream
fucking noise, isn't it? It's just
noise,
Yeah.
and there's no way of filtering the importance of, so it all just seems like it's constant panic, chaos, and that's why then the more people are on it, the more people are fucking depressed and, feel like shit, which we all do when we read it.
Have you read Amusing Ourselves to Death? Neil Postman.
I've not, but I've heard a lot about it.
You'd love it. It's great.
Yeah, I've heard people.
But it's like
talking
before the
about this.
internet. But it's about that. It's about how the TV, with every new method of communication that comes along, it changes how we communicate and how you receive news and everything. And from the telegram, and about how you would only learn about your local community, or if you're in a tribe or something like that. You only learn things that are directly relevant to your experience. And then eventually, with like the telegram and stuff like that, you start to learn from all over the world news events that they're not directly relevant to you. You can't control them, but they're just more shit to worry about. And it's amazing when you think about
guitar lessons in Venezuela.
Exactly. And how, like TV news is like entertainment. It's formatted like an entertainment format rather than actually giving you the information you need. And obviously the internet's like the craziest example of that. And now it's just like we've pulled the fucking lid off the bottle now and we're just
absolutely
going one way.
Yeah. As someone was saying this, I don't know if it's stupid or what, but like I remember I was an extra in like River City or something, and someone was like on their phone, and there was an old guy going.
So funny just to drop that in. You can say it, but you're not expecting me and Mark not to look at each other and smile.
So I was actually me and Shell Soap Bob were having a conversation.
What was that? Shell Soap?
Shell shocked Bob. He's got PTSD from the war.
I've been an extra in many things, guys.
Right, so you're an extra in River City.
Yeah, it's a big part. I was walking behind Shell Suit Bob. Trying to think of some other
Everybody's
character.
in River
Deke.
City's called Bob. Big Bob. Shell Suit Bob. That's all the people I know. Anyway, go on.
Raymond, I think that's one. So basically someone was like on their phone, and a mad old guy was like, oh, it's terrible, the kids on their phones nowadays. And they were like, but that's what they said when people had books. They were like, oh, it's terrible, these people reading their books all the time. And it's like, do you think that's a true thing? It kind of made me laugh. I was like, I don't know if that's true, but then thinking about it, maybe it was when books were an invention.
Yeah. I can see it because I'm on my phone so much now that I feel quite sophisticated when I can actually sit and watch a TV show.
Yeah,
and TV
absolutely.
used to be
Look
the
at
thing
me.
was like, look at what's fucking killing these kids.
Well, every
Yeah.
time, like, to see that Neil Postman thing that you're talking about, like, there is a term for this guy, Marshall McLuhan or something, it's called the medium is a message, and it's all about like how whatever format you're experiencing something in, that kind of is, like, that is the message itself.
He's quite
It's how-
heavily referenced in that book.
Aye, so you're like, so with telly and obviously social media is now like an extreme version of that. But like you're saying with the books and stuff, the printing press was a big deal. See when that came in and newspapers started to circulate, because all of a sudden it's like now everybody's scared of fake news and misinformation and stuff. Back then, people, when the printing press came in and there's all these newspapers and shit, people could print tons of mad shit and all these mental newspapers before it was only like fucking Rupert Murdoch and two other guys that owned everything. But so like it was a big thing then. Books, people were, I mean, fucking, I think all the book burning and stuff that went on in the Dark Ages and all that shit.
The witch trials.
And with telly, like I was reading this book about the 1960 election, and that was the first one that there'd ever been a televised debate with Nixon and JFK. And so on the people listening to it on the radio thought that Nixon won, but then the cunts who watched it in the telly thought Kennedy won, basically because he looked better than him and came a bit more composed, whereas Nixon had this thing called lazy shave, and he like had looked a bit scruffy and he looked a wee bit nervous and shit, and so everybody thought Kennedy won, and that was a big deal in terms of that election. And so I think we obviously the thing in 2016 with Trump, it was a big thing to do with social media and Facebook and all that stuff, and that was basically the first real time that's had an incredible impact on it in a similar way to probably how telly did in the 60s.
But was a lot more sinister things going on, like selling information. What was the mad?
There's a lot of that stuff.
Analytica thing. What was that?
Cambridge Analytica and all that. There's a lot of that stuff going on with algorithms and this and that. So there's dodgy stuff, but again, it's probably just part and parcel of what comes with the territory of advertising online effectively versus doing it, you know, in the old ways of telly and stuff. But aye, so just it's just interesting how we get that information. I feel now though as well with the phone, it's just such a potent version of it that we really need like a massive amount of responsibility to take over ourselves in our, because it plays on your compulsions. You know, it's like a fucking slot machine in your
reach
pocket.
for it, yeah, like
you just want it all the time.
impulse.
Hand.
Fucking good luck reading a book or, as you say, watching the telly right now, because you're just constantly while you look at your phone. So you just need, it's because it's so powerful, you need to take like a massive more amount of responsibility over yourself and your own habits and stuff. But it's really difficult because it's all thinged against it.
I've found that on like been watching something on the TV and getting my laptop out to like do online shopping or something, and then looking on
the
social
phone.
media and like 3 screens in front of me. It's like
Aye.
insane.
It is fucking insane, isn't it? It's crazy.
I
I do that as
We
well.
lose so much of your life. And I think people at some point are probably we're going to need to try and figure out a way to be able to access stuff and like go on and get what you need, what you're looking for online, without going down 5 different avenues and wasting 2 hours, like when you might be doing something else. Because obviously I think we spoke about it before, but when I done that show where I went off, I get rid of my smartphone for 6 months.
That's right.
And I was off the internet and stuff. But that is really what I noticed, is that I would still procrastinate and stuff like that. I would still like waste time and all that, but I would just do it in a less efficient way. So I'd just watch the telly instead of going on my phone, you know, like all that kind of stuff.
Would you do that again?
I think it'd be much harder now. When was that? 2014 or something?
14 or 15 or something, aye. So
Which
maybe
doesn't
15.
seem like that long ago, but like technology has moved on a lot.
Well,
since
even
then.
then, it was just at the point where everything's so integrated, the internet's so integrated and everything now, that it'd be almost impossible. And even like, say you watch the
Like
telly,
Google
but you can easily
Maps.
just go on Netflix,
Yeah.
Google Maps, all these type of things. So, because I remember the first time I went to London is when I done it, and I had to literally fucking like write out directions to go and shit like that. It was
That's
nuts.
insane. I remember one of the first times I ever went to tea in the park. My mate printed out the directions
It's mad, isn't it?
to get to fucking Balado or whatever it was.
But aye, so I just think that it's, look, there's no point in kidding on your fucking Amish or whatever. It's here to stay,
Yeah.
and it's there, and it is an amazing thing. But it's just such a gift and a curse at the same time that I think you really just need to treat it like, you know, like fucking treating it like plutonium or something. Do you know what I mean? Just really dealing with it like dead delicately, because you know how poisonous it can be effectively.
Remember to like and subscribe though.
Yeah, of course.
Not lose sight of that.
Yeah, follow
Hopefully
us
this
on
is
Mastodon.
Hopefully this is an oasis, and I know, I mean, it is amazing like that we can do something like this and have so many people listening and watching every week, but at the same time think how more like productive you could be if you didn't spend 3 hours a day fucking looking at Twitter.
I know.
Don't tell them that. Fuck's sake. Come on.
No,
but-
listening to our podcast obviously, but I'm just
Aye,
saying.
you can listen to this with your earphones and do other
Put it
stuff.
on your iPod.
That's the beauty of it.
Well, that's
Did you still do that? Probably, right?
my dad's got 2 old iPods in the house that he uses, because
God,
I
they're
don't think he
fucking
knows
great
how to
iPods.
properly use his phone for music. So
But even that's a thing that of the past. Like, you've just got Spotify, you just stream music. You don't need to
Aye.
have tunes on your like iPod or whatever.
Burn a CD into your fucking computer and then you used to
aye,
buy a CD
Yeah.
and then you'd be desperate to get home to rip it, to put it in your computer, to then attach your iPod, to then put it on your iPod.
So convoluted.
Nowadays, you know,
Crazy.
the kids these days, Stephen.
They don't know what they're missing.
I had a lot of unreleased 2-pack tracks and stuff like that, and remixes and all that I had on, and now they're gone.
I miss stuff like that because on Spotify you only get the officially released stuff.
Yeah.
You used to get like just rip shit off YouTube and you get like live versions and B-sides and
Yeah.
Oh, the LimeWire
game's gone
shit.
now.
Yeah. I'm sure I got like an Arctic Monkeys sort of. I think it must have been one where they kind of recorded it themselves, because it was like all the same tunes as was on their first album, but they were
Like
sounded
demos,
different,
demos,
demos and stuff.
Aye.
I like
I
those
got them
weird
from-
LimeWire versions to get. There was one I had in an Arctic Monkeys acoustic one. In the middle of it, Arctico Monkeys, acústico!
I was like recorded off the
Picking up
radio
little
or
bits of
something.
Spanish as well. You know?
Yeah.
Now here we are 20 years on, I'm getting Spanish tweets about them. It's not changed that much.
I got. I remember in school, someone was telling me about this mad like song that they were listening to called like it was called like,
DJ Cash? No.
It wasn't DJ Cash actually. It was like La Cucaracha, and then I went on to download it on LimeWire, and this like Spanish kids show song came up. It's like La Cucaracha, but it's like they were listening to like a rap song or something. So I came in and I was like, listen to that La Cucaracha. It was.
You
It's
come in
quite
with a
good.
sombrero on.
I'm like going, it's not bad. It's weird. That kind of thinking it's weird that they're listening to my kids' tunes, but
Aye.
and it just turns out it was a different song.
Because I've heard the La Cucaracha, the one you sang.
Have you?
Aye.
La Cucaracha.
Aye.
Yeah, that's a
Maybe they
proper
listened to a
standard song.
remix or something. But yeah, LimeWire was great.
those were the days.
I had FrostWire.
Did you?
It was
What was
just
the difference?
LimeWire, but it was blue.
Did you ever leave it on like all day while you were at school trying to download like
Porno.
I was gonna say a movie, but whatever.
Well, you try and download a movie and it ends up being a
And
porno.
then you get the first 12 minutes of like the first Fast and the Furious or something. It's taking all fucking school day to get it.
Sometimes you'd get like a fake thing, like try to download an Eminem song or something, it'd be that mad thing, it was like Bill Clinton or something. And be like,
Is that the original
My
Rick
fellow
Ross?
Rick Roll,
Americans.
Yeah.
Don't know how to torrent these days, the kids.
No.
It's a lost art, that.
It is. I wouldn't even know what site you would go into for torrents nowadays.
They've cracked down on it
You
though.
fucking have.
Because I actually, a couple of years ago, I got a letter through the post and it was addressed to my dad. And it was
Has he
basically,
been torrenting?
because when I had been
What's on
torrenting, it
that
was like,
iPod?
but do you know what? Do you know what the thing is though? It's not as far as I'm aware. I could be wrong about this, but I don't think it's illegal to download the stuff for torrents. But it's like, see if you're on like, if you've got one of these torrent things, you're sort of seeding it or whatever it's called, so other people can download it from kind of your server in a way if you've downloaded it and you've still got the thing up. So we got a hang in saying somebody else fucking downloaded this mad shite Eminem tune for one of his new albums. Like, fay your thing and don't, this is like a warning, don't do this or you'll get into trouble basically. So and I was like, fucking hell. So I just basically download Spotify.
That was the point. I'll listen to ads on Spotify.
Yeah,
Actually.
but there's probably a way where you can still do it without sort of like it going out to other people. But I think that's how it all works because it's like file sharing or whatever. But
Yeah.
but no, they're cracking down on it these days.
At last.
'Cause it
Only
took-
fucking 15 years behind the curve.
Well, it took them so long to probably figure out how to kind of monetize because I think it really fucked the music industry and stuff, didn't it? Like when all this online stuff. And you could just,
Napster.
you could get
Oh
it
yeah,
for
that
free.
was the original, wasn't it? Did you ever have? We're talking about Twitter and that. I assume you had Bebo.
Big
You
time,
ever
big time.
MySpace people?
No,
I missed MySpace, but I was big
missed-
on Bebo.
I missed
Yeah.
MySpace. I think funny you say that about the lassie you fancied. I think there was a lassie I fancied that had a MySpace, and I went on and
Had
I
a wee
think
look.
I had a look, but I don't think I signed up. I think it was probably just at the time Bebo was coming out,
Mm.
so I just got on the Bebo train.
So was MySpace just before Bebo then?
But probably a good bit before it, I would imagine.
Was it?
But certainly in my mind, it was a precursor to it.
Our version of it was Pixo sites. Did you have that?
What?
The Pixo. It was like
Never heard of it.
websites for like young teams would have.
Well, I
website.
remember I remember the day that my name got added to the list of gang members in the Hillshed Young Team website. It was like hillshedyoungteam.tk.com or something. And it was like then it was literally the last name, Jenko, and I'm like, yes, come on, showing that to all the lassies and all that. It was great.
I'm on the house shed.
We're in the computer room, like, look.
I wasn't lying to you. Look.
I always thought that was so funny. It was like, hated but rated, fuck anyone but us. Remember on signing the guest book? Like,
So what was it? Pixel?
Pixo.
I don't remember that one.
I never heard that word, but
Well, it's like those sort of sites. Did you have?
it's like free websites that you could make one for free and it would just have a wee .am or .tk
Yeah.
or something in there.
It's like the like Wix nowadays probably, but it was free. I'm sure.
I don't think young teams these days are
Squarespace.
using Squarespace. This is the thing.
Mark Maron going, if you've got a young team that you want to...
Are you hated but rated? Yeah, this is the thing, right? I don't know whether this is to do with me being older and no being in the environment of it enough, but I don't think young teams are really a thing anymore, are they? And if they are, why have they not got more of a social media presence?
Yeah.
I don't see them on Twitter getting verified. You know
No.
what I mean? I don't see them on Instagram, Snapchat, all these things. You never see. You think you would see
Yeah.
more of it crop up in your feed, even if you don't follow
Well, I
them?
was going to ask, is it a big thing in Fife?
Young teams.
Aye. Is it more of a Glasgow thing?
It's now been so long since I was at school that I'm forgetting, and because I spend so much time with cunts like you two, I keep get gaslighting myself to be like, did we have VL at school? And then I need to like go home and like, have I just embarrassed myself on the podcast? But then I was speaking to my pals and I'm like, no, we never had that. It's
No.
the fucking craziest thing we've ever heard as well. Young team, we obviously had fucking Bams and Neds and folk hanging out in groups and drinking in parks and shit like that. I couldn't confidently tell you if we called it a young team or not. I can't even.
No.
Or like
I was.
a gang?
I was. Listen, look at me. I wasn't a fucking young team, was I? Cut above all that shit.
Speak for yourself.
But gun to the head, I don't think we called it a young team. But I
But you
can't
had
mind.
gangs, probably.
Yeah. But it's just
But
wee
they not
fucking
na-
groups of wee
but-
guys, isn't it?
Ultimately, like,
It's all
all
just-
gangs were just groups of pals.
It's just wee
But
guys.
did they have names? Can you remember any of the names of the local gangs?
I think. No, actually, I'm going to try. I think we did have young teams because I think after we were like a little bit too old for it, we, for a laugh, ironically started calling ourselves BYT, Burn Island Young Team, or Balweary Young Team. I can't even remember.
Yeah.
Right.
So I think there must have actually been real ones.
You must have had some reference point to it. if
Yeah,
you saw
exactly.
it.
Aye.
We weren't just hitting out with
But
that.
you've just
I
watched,
think so.
like, Chewing the Fat and you've kind
Aye,
of picked it
yeah.
up from that or whatever.
Right.
Yeah, maybe. I honestly, I can't mind. I'm sorry. I'm an adult man now.
Mm.
It's been a while.
It was a proper big deal for us
Absolutely.
growing up.
Mhm.
So it must be just bigger in Glasgow, but it's like, yeah, I could name 6, 7 different gangs.
Right.
Do you want me to go?
Go fine.
Oh, they don't come for
it's a
us.
big claim.
This is when we find out they're very much a real thing.
They're still at large.
They firebomb the studio.
Well, you mentioned one, the Hill Shed. They were quite big.
See, by it's the older ones than us were like more notorious, I think, and then basically we were just like a group of pals that just played football together and catchy, and then
Aye.
eventually
It was
drinking and
always
that.
the older ones that you had to be wary of. They were the psychopaths. Then you get the younger ones who played football,
yeah.
basically.
We
Then
played football.
Hmm?
We played football.
You had football teams.
We had football teams, yeah. Inverkeithing United, I don't think we were a young team technically. Anyone have any real hobbies? No.
Nah.
Well, this is
Not
the
growing
thing. We did. I imagine you had tons of hobbies growing up, Stuart. We didn't have any hobbies.
No.
We were in young teams.
I wasn't
Played
in young
football
teams.
in places that said no ball games, and fucking that was
Badass.
about
Oh,
it.
we were doing that. Give a fuck about your sign, bro.
You must have been like frolicking on the beach.
Yeah, we got the sea air. You know, you can't be that upset about things.
It always amazes me, like, to hear, even if it was just like obviously in Burnt Island or whatever, like that people grew up near a beach, and effectively just be like growing up near the park or whatever for us. But it just seems so more exotic.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's not that exotic, but it is something you kind of take for granted. Whenever I go back home, I'm like, fucking hell, I've been by the seaside.
Aye.
And you know, you go so far without it now, but it's always kind of, it feels like I'll return one day to the shores
Yeah.
where I belong.
Is that when
yeah.
you will retire?
Yeah. Yeah.
Do you go for a nice wee walk along the beach? You're a beach man?
I'm a beach man.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Shoes off, socks off.
Not if I can help it.
No.
No.
Aye.
Wee paddle. I hated that. See, when you went on holiday with your mum and dad or whatever, they'd be like, I'll go for a wee paddle, and it just meant they would walk
You're
bare
getting-
feet.
We're doing exactly what we're doing now, but you've got wet legs
You've got wet
and
legs.
sand that will fuck you off all day.
Hated that.
Have
Wee
you
paddle.
seen the new the mad sewage problems in Britain, and it means like people are just swimming in
Shite.
Shite.
shite and all that?
Yeah, the Thames, I think, is especially bad, right?
It was like, what did you call it?
The Thames? Thames?
The Thames.
The Thames?
What's it called?
The
the
Thames.
Thames.
Stuart, I
Whatever.
expected better for you.
Stare.
That's the sort of if he's had it with that, fair enough.
Thames.
The Thames.
Was it Thames?
The Thames River?
Thames.
The
It's
Thames.
spelled Thames.
Aye, you know, but you're an American tourist. What the fuck?
Apparently. That's not the water I grew up near.
That's sea air's getting to your head. God.
The Thames, wow. But no, people are because it showed you on the news, and people are swimming in all this sewage, and you're like, they know it's the, why are they still going in?
Aye.
And I was like, yeah, there's a bit of shite flowing by now.
Horrible.
Yeah, that's not a risk I'm taking.
We
Fuck
used to
that.
jump in the bowling basin though, the canal.
Mm-hmm.
Now it's probably full of shit. 100%.
Yeah,
I
I'm
remember,
surprised you. I would have taken you as somebody who wouldn't have jumped
I almost got chucked in once.
to the bowling basin.
Jamp
Yeah.
isn't the right word either, by the way, if we're picking
Jumped.
people up on it.
Jamp is a Scottish word, by the way.
Nah.
Scots, is it? Jump?
It is.
Is it?
It is.
I mean, it's just saying jumped wrong, isn't it? But
Yeah. There's
No. I
Is
think
that- is
that
that-
is
is that a real
is
word?
one
Right.
of many words that would be a good.
we were getting a
addition to-
bollocking at school for saying jump.
Aye, well, I was working in the co-op and a wee guy was like, I just jump over the puddle, and his mum was like, no, he was like, I just jumped over the puddle, and his mum was like, you never jumped, you jump. She
Oh, really?
corrected him. And at the time I was like, that's wrong, but maybe it's right. Maybe
It
it's
is right.
Scottish.
Look, Jamp English and then bracket Scotland, simple past tense and past participle of jump.
There you go.
So it's a
There you
Scottish
go.
version.
So don't correct us on that.
Scots.
Scots. That's great.
Maybe Thames is Scots. Maybe I can get away on a loophole. What were you saying there, Steve?
Oh, I getting chucked in the bowling basin.
Aye, so right, go back to this.
So what is that?
So at my bit, there's a bit where people keep wee boats.
So you know the wee Rosie and Jim boats?
Oh, yeah.
It's in there.
Just a big. It's called the bowling basin. It's just a big bit of horrible, dirty water.
It's just like the end of the kind of canal. But
Yeah, and I remember this guy probably in the house shed or something like that. It was like, jump
it
in.
might have been me.
It might have been you. He was like, jump in, and I was like, nah, I've got my phone on me and that. And he was like, I don't care, you're jumping in. And he dragged me to the edge, and then two other bums were like, that's shite. And then he went, what? And then I sprinted, ran for it.
So you narrowly avoided. being
Narrowly
chucked in.
avoided my phone getting
Escaped your
waterlogged.
fate. Yeah.
But
That
did you
was a
ever-
huge thing growing up. People's phones getting waterlogged. That happened every week.
Yeah,
I seem to remember it was like snowing one time. We went like sledging, and just like everyone's phone was fucked.
put it in the radiator. That was
Yeah.
before the time
Before
you knew
the
you
rice.
could put it in rice.
Yeah.
Because that's quite a modern thing.
Radiators were the rice of their day.
Yeah.
It never worked. Phones never get fucking. They just stopped doing that now?
They're
I
quite
think
water
I've
resistant.
more stopped jumping in rivers and stuff.
Yeah, I'm not fucking around in water either. To be fair, as much as I used to.
Well, there's actually this is an interesting thing. Like I used to kind of try and do a stand up, but it never worked. But basically, I found loads of phones
Aye.
in a pond in Dalmuir Park.
Yep.
Like honestly, about 12 phones. Me and my cousins would go into this horrible pond and pick up loads of Nokias and all that. And we didn't think anything at the time. We put them in the radiator. Some of them worked a wee bit. Some of them, like kind of half waterlogged screen, and some of them wouldn't. But then years later, we found out that it was burner phones.
Aye.
Like
So
just local dealers chucking them in this pond.
So you nearly get them fucking. you nearly get them done and all that for fucking.
I know. Imagine like getting.
Did you
into
ever
that.
see any of the texts or anything like that? Or?
No, not that I remember. I used to do it in stand up and say that I did, but it was just bullshit. We basically tried to play Snake on it. I think it was as far as it got.
Half a game of Snake on a fucking waterlogged phone.
Yeah,
So it was on Nokia 3310s.
it was all like Nokias and
And you is this probably.
Simons. Remember those Simons?
Yeah.
Aye.
Those sort of ones, old kind of school.
They
Were you
never
too
made it
young
to the
to have a-
smartphone era.
No.
Simons.
No,
No.
never.
Were you too young to have a phone then? So that was like.
Aye, this was before so I was maybe like, I don't know, 6 or 7, say, or
Jesus
8,
Christ.
maybe 8.
Aye. And did your ma know that you'd found them or anything? Or?
Well, this was when I stayed at my auntie's house because she lived next to Dalmuir Park. So when we brought them all in, she was like, "Get these out my house
Aye.
in case
We're all going down for the.
in
The
case
wire.
dealers come." Yeah, but
You're like
aye.
one of those kids that, like in Line of Duty or whatever, they'll get like a wee daft kid on a bike to like take up armor phones. You're like accidentally doing their bidding.
Yeah, that was me.
It's funny that never got work in a stand up. That was one of your classics, along with the shredded wheat, whenever we'd write together.
Yeah,
I think the
a
thing.
funny
got it
memory.
cooking.
The thing with that is like a lot of Steve's stories that it's like.
They don't go anywhere.
Well, no, it's not. It's not. They don't go anywhere, but it's just such a
It's
bizarre.
a strange premise.
But it's
Yeah.
a bizarre thing.
You know that way
it's
you
only-
find 12 drug dealers' phones in a pond.
Aye, it's only happened
Come
to
on,
you
everyone knows that.
and takes
Peter Kay on his comeback tour, if he's doing stuff like that, his acts change.
takes quite a bit of interrogation to get to the bottom of it all.
I know, and maybe a better comic could do something with it, but because that is the funny thing is that it doesn't really go anywhere. All these stories, like the laptop porn story, I wanted to stage a break in, but I didn't actually stage a break in. These drug dealers' phones, I never came in contact with a drug dealer, but I did have them.
Yeah.
So I got to the cusp of danger and I never quite.
The irony is the only thing that actually did happen to completion was you burying your shitty old jokes in the forest.
That was a very solitary act on my part. I don't think anyone would find out about that until I spoke about it on a podcast. Bieber though, that was good, eh?
Fuck yeah, we never even spoke about it. Bieber was like, that was the peak for me of like social media, I think.
Send
It was
us
the
a
most
love.
fun.
You could put
Had so
people in
much
your
love.
top 8 or whatever.
Yeah.
Did you ever, like, you'd have your pal as another half and then you'd dump them to put your new girlfriend in?
Yeah.
Then you'd
Yeah.
have to walk it back, like,
Aye, when you get dumped 2 weeks
2 weeks
later.
later.
That 100% happened to me.
And then you would just post on each other's walls, right? That was
Mhm.
all, I don't even think it had a messenger, did it?
No, it wasn't private, so people could just read you horribly flirting with some
Yeah.
person you fancied.
Because
It's really
still-
awkward.
You'd still need to use MSN. It was MSN and Bebo, I felt, well...
That was the pincer movement of fancying someone back in the day.
Yeah, because I guess you did want people to know publicly that you were firing into
Put a
someone.
wee marker down.
Yeah, mark your
Let them know they're in a game.
Send them 3 loves.
And then you'd have your video that would autoplay.
Yeah. Yeah, do you remember your video?
I mean, I was changing all the time. But
I remember having one because it was one of Bridges that somebody had recorded. I don't know, it was in like a student union or something. It was before he'd done the McIntyre, and it was like pure brilliant bit of stand up, and I pure loved it. And I was like, oh, there's that guy, he went to my school and that. And I had it as my thing, and I remember like people from my uni seeing it and like liking it, going, oh, is that guy now? And then I think it got took down, probably like they fucking get rid
Off
of
the
it.
curb,
Aye,
got it
something like
down or
that. So, and then obviously like I don't know, maybe like a year or 2 later or whatever, he was on. You know, the telly and stuff, but it was quite cool.
it's rare to be a hipster but a comedian.
Ah, you know,
Yeah.
that was a forebear. It was, I think it was maybe like the bus stop joke or something at the time. I can't
Was it?
remember what it was.
Mine was always like the BAM tunes for like if their pal had died, if one of their BAM pals had died.
Life Goes On by Tupac.
Life Goes On, it was always that, or it was like
That's what I want played.
Castles in the Sky was one as well, because, you know, Heaven's Kind of Hero is up there.
So tell me why they're building houses in Mulgai. That's what that's why the reason they're building it is so nice area. If I ever die, I want you to do a tribute to me. And
Life
play,
Goes On.
Play Life Goes On by Tupac next to the old photos of me when I was in the Hillshire Young Team going.
In our other podcast, I get Steve to make little theme tunes for
Yeah.
movies, so I'm sure we
Yeah.
can do some with that. I'll do a little spoken word. You can
Yeah.
do
Rest
a
in
back
peace,
and beat.
motherfucker. There's a heaven for a G.
There is a heaven for a G. For a hell shed G.
Speaking of death, no, I was at the doctor's.
Did a gig last night?
Yeah,
Hey.
I was at the doctor's. I was in one of my cyclical bouts of fear that I was going to die.
This happens quite a lot.
Yeah, I'm
nowadays,
quite a bit of hypochondriac, but it's been a similar thing. I think basically I just had a bit of a sore kind of stomach, but it was in the area around about the bladder, so I was worried it's something internal. I think it's just all been a muscular thing because like I've went in the doctor's and nothing's came back, but basically I had a similar problem kind of last year, and effectively it's because I've got a firm bed, right, a firm mattress that I bought as a mistake. I've not realised. And just see, because I'm just still got a bit of fucking weight and I'm lying in my stomach all the time, and it's just
You sleep on your stomach?
it's a bad combination, or even on my side a wee bit, but like
That
it's
is
a bad combo of just having too much weight with a big firm mattress. Because I would notice even the last time, anytime I'd actually go and stay in a hotel or in like somebody else's bed, I'd have a much better sleep and I'd be fine. And then, but I was like, I don't know, a pain, and just because I was worried about it and stuff, so I went and thankfully everything was alright, and I've realised, right, it's basically I just need to lose a bit of weight, and I've bought a new mattress effectively.
I bought a new mattress recently. It's changed my world.
Really?
I'll ask you about this because you've been in ill health as well in Australia because you had a shit bed.
Yep.
Well, when you said that about that's what really got me thinking about really I should get one. When you said about how that's what your doctor, if my doctor had told me to do that, it would have saved me a lot of fucking hassle last
Doctor's
year.
orders, yeah.
The annoying thing is when you go to your GP, like you feel like you're just so readily dismissed, which is annoying because like you see all these like adverts all the time, like, oh, if you have symptoms, get it checked out, and then you go to
Yeah.
the doctor and they're like, fuck off, like,
Yeah.
it's weird.
Are they allowed to say you're a hypochondriac?
No, but they can heavily imply it. They basically, when I went there a week and I was like just saying it, and I do have all these physical things, which I've then went to a physio about, and they went, oh, you're dead tense here, and blah, 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 and here's some exercise you can do, so they can actually do something for you. Whereas he literally went like to me, oh, well, maybe it's anxiety. And I'm like, look, I'm not saying I'm not a hypochondriac, but I do have certain physical pain.
Yeah.
This doesn't just get came on because I'm like,
Yeah.
because I'm worried. Do you know what I mean? Like, it's just, I don't know, it just seems an insane.
Yeah. No, I can like identify with that. I've had like chest pains in the past, and like I can literally feel. I think my heart's about to explode, and I've went for like fucking the whatever the chest the heart scan thing is.
Yeah,
Can't even
yeah.
remember the name. And they're like, no, it's fine.
EKG.
ECG.
It's like you're getting
ECG.
gaslit, innit? Because I know
don't feel
what my
fine.
heart
Aye.
feels like normally.
Yeah.
And that anything to do with your heart's fucking terrifying.
Yeah, it's not. Yeah, you shouldn't be having chest pains, and you're like, oh, maybe it's anxiety or stress or something. But
Yeah.
you're like, well, what are you meant to do then?
I know, absolutely. But the worst part is sometimes then you do leave after the doctors and then you do start feeling a bit better and you're going, how much of this was pure worry and stuff? But really it's mainly been I've figured out because I need to get a new mattress. So,
Yeah.
but no, that way I'm trying to mentally prepare myself for the worst.
The worst.
And then you go in and you're pure going, right, I need to get the podcast edit done right. That's it. Susan McCary episode's the last one ever. And then, I'm fine, and you just need to kind of go, all right, fuck.
Mentally getting your affairs in order.
No, that's what that is. You're getting your affairs in order.
But when I got that ECG, they sent me a letter saying, oh, we've found an irregularity in it, which fucking sent my chest into things. I was going, oh, I'm dying
It's
here.
not going to calm you down, is it?
No, exactly. And then they were like, oh, by the way, that was a mistake. We think it's stress or something like that. I was like, well, you're not helping me out by saying there's irregularities in my
Well,
chest.
that is a good test of your heart, though. If you
Yeah.
can read that and you're still alive, then you're probably right. I just feel like sometimes you go to your GP and they don't even do any tests of that. You just tell them, and then you just say, oh, it's probably this, and then maybe give you some tablets or whatever. Like, it just seems so unscientific. Do you know what I mean? It's just like it's the sort of, sometimes it's like advice you think you'd get in the pub or something.
Yeah. You can literally see them typing your symptoms in and clicking the button and going, oh, it's probably this.
Aye.
It's like WebMD or some shit.
I
I
know,
mean, not
it's
to
nice.
pile on GPs too much, but I mean, I've told you this. I tried to get this working in stand-up. I don't think people believe it. I went to see my GP one time, and she was just drinking out a fucking KFC cup.
No way.
Yeah, just swigging from this, like, Pepsi Max.
Fuck
Which
it,
is, like,
hell.
fine. Obviously, it's completely fine. And why wouldn't your GP have it? But it just felt so
I
unprofessional.
don't really want to see that, do you?
That's who I'm going for my health advice. Some cunt that's just had a fucking bargain bucket.
But that, you were saying that your GP had like 3 stars on Google or something. Was that the same?
2.2 stars on Google reviews, my GP.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah. Used to be 2.3 because I had a joke about it, and then I googled it one day and it had gone down during the period of me doing the joke, and I had to change it.
At that point, you should probably stop drinking out of KFC cups, shouldn't you? Try and get your rating.
It's not a good look. I mean, pour it into a cup or something.
The other thing was though as well, like I seen they were looking when I was in there a week, they were looking at the notes for the time for previously last year, and I could see them being like, I could see what they'd said about me basically, and it was like pure like, and there's one bit and it's like, and he's lost his work as a stand-up comedian, blah blah. This could be contributing and stuff, and I'm like, so I'm not going to take it in fucking seriously. So
It says on your report here, Mr. Jennings, that you're a terminal bullshitter.
you know,
And a fucking wuss. One question that, I mean, I feel like you'll have probably had this discussion in the past. I feel like this is just something that comes up every so often. I can't remember why I got talking about it. But someone that I knew that had gone to private school, and the question came up, if you had the money, would you send your kids to private school? That's 3 folk that never went to private school.
yeah.
How do you
Would
know,
you do it?
Stu? How do you know he wasn't at the Hill Shed private school?
I'm pretty confident I know you two didn't go to private school.
I feel like this the mad summer camp you went to, Steve. There's got some sort of
Some question marks over that.
Aye, aye.
That wasn't
Would you?
it. I don't know. I've always said no.
I think it's easy to say no, though, isn't it?
It's easy to say no. If money was no option, then you might go. Because then I'm thinking, would I want my kids to go to Clydebank High where I went, where it was fucking a lot of the time it was awful. It was dreadful.
And there's good people in these schools as
Aye,
well,
there
though.
is, aye.
But because my concern would be with that as well. It's like, well, it didn't do me any harm. Probably did, but also you think about like how I feel, and I think you probably feel the same. That like we are lucky that we didn't get dragged into some stuff that could have really had bad effects on our life. That was around us a lot in these schools, and could have easily happened. I mean, particularly with me, fucking hanging about the young team and all that. You know what I mean? But no, so like you sort of go, well, statistically, like they would be a lot likely to quote unquote fall in with a bad crowd or something like that. If whereas opposed to that, but the opposite side of it is if you send your kids to private school,
You're
they're
a
going
wank.
to be wee wankers.
They're going to be wee
Yeah.
wanks.
Turn out like wee wanks.
That's the thing. But
Play
also,
off of
private schools do have fucking cunts as well, dangerous people as well, politicians. You know what I mean? You know what I mean? Am I right? Is this thing on? But do you know what I mean? Like I've heard more horrible stories from like our pal Rachel doesn't go to private school, but hung about with people at private school, and some of them
It's going to West End.
she went to school in the West End. That's close enough. But it's like some of the weird shit that they get up to, like house parties and stuff like that, and some of these initiations we were talking about, like shagging a pig and all that. Like,
I don't think specifically that was
not
on our
that
stories.
specifically, but I think that they are quite deprived as well. Depraved, sorry, not deprived.
No,
The
no.
opposite of
The
deprived.
opposite.
opposite of deprived.
They're depraved.
I always thought though, because like we had a mix of people in our school for all different kind of walks of life within a very narrow spectrum of people who live in Clydebank and the surrounding areas. But there's no really posh cunts there. But what was good because you'd have pure mental cunts in your class and all that stuff. But I always sort of thought it built character. And
you learn how to deal with different types of people.
You learn to do.
Yeah.
Which is
My
important,
mum
right?
used to always say, I could dine with a prince or dine with a pauper. She actually done neither. But like I always quite like that. And I used to have mates that different, so I did have mates in the young team and all that, but then I was like, I'd have mates that I was doing my hires with and all that as well.
Yeah.
And I just always quite liked being in different groups of people. And I think there's something to be said for that. Whereas if you go to a private school and it's just you and all these privileged people, and you meet them in comedy and in our kind of lines of work, people that have just been in privileged circles all their life and don't know what fucking real people are like.
And then it depends, like if you can afford to send your kid to private school, I'm assuming you're that rich or a big celebrity, would there be a
Not
danger?
always,
Not
though,
necessarily
people-
though, because there must still be a great disparity in wealth. Even obviously they're all
And
richer
there.
than
Some people
Yeah.
just do it
Whatever,
because they're a bit middle class and they want the best for their children. But
yeah.
like,
So that might
that's
be their
true.
huge expense or
Aye.
whatever.
But like if you say you were a huge celebrity, like, and you were sending your school to like your kid to a normal school, like could there be danger elements there? Like, you're not getting the
Aye.
president sending his way into.
I think the question is more though, no if you were famous, but if you just had the money, would you do it? So wouldn't it be
Yeah.
for a safety? I think it'd
Steve
just
wanted to be a
for
celebrity in his little fantasy. We'd never mentioned anything like that. That is something you hear though, isn't it? Like that argument of, like would they be sort of a
Safe.
target in the playground
Yeah.
or whatever?
Could get kidnapped,
Maybe if your parents were infamous.
held
maybe.
for ransom.
But it's like that thing in the thick of it with Nicola Murray.
Aye. I know. I suppose it's weirder for politicians, particularly ones that are on the left, when they, like are meant to be like standing for public services and stuff like that, and then they send their kids to private school. But it's just sort of the nature of our society in general, isn't it?
I think
Yeah.
the standard response for people like us is like, you like to think you wouldn't, but it's easy to say when you're not in that situation.
Yeah.
See how much the Patreon takes off when they get up and running.
I've always said I wouldn't send them to private school because of that whole thing of I don't want them to be a wee wank. But it's like,
You get wanks in normal schools.
yeah, I depends.
But they're not likely to get stabbed if they go to fucking Hutchie Grammar or whatever the fuck it's called, these posh ones.
Aye, and do you think the education is better in these schools, or do you think they're just?
I just think statistically more...
They're more likely to get to better universities.
I think
and stuff,
it's all to do with expectations and standards, and a lot of it's probably to do with like... Because did you not find when you went to uni, like, it was such a big difference in terms of like, all of a sudden it's like, oh fuck, we're meant to be preparing, are we? I thought, like, because at my school it was always like, you had the kid on that you'd never fucking done any work.
Aye,
And then you go to uni, you're like, oh fucking, everything's
Yeah.
different here.
yeah. But I think that's also an age thing. I don't know if that was like a.
Yeah, but it's just also a fact of like going from fucking a high school in Clydebank to fucking Glasgow Uni,
Yeah, maybe. Yeah.
where probably a lot of folk came from these mad posh schools and all that. But it's just maybe an expectations thing and just like a sort of like, peer pressure and just what's going on around you sort of thing, surroundings.
I do think it's weird though if everyone at your school is like you, and you're all kind of like, of the same social class,
Aye.
and you're not mixing with different groups. I do think that sets you up to have a weird life
Yeah.
that you need to sort of counteract in
Absolutely.
adulthood.
Yeah, I think ideally do away with them altogether.
Yeah.
Everyone's the same.
Well, it's like the private healthcare thing, though. In an ideal world, private schools wouldn't be necessary if the public schools were all running like brilliantly and stuff like that. And it's the sign of like a failing. I think in America, like the public schools are really, really fucked because the government just has got so much like they just.
Is there not a thing though that's like public means private?
Well,
and
here that's
state-
the case.
what's
Like
I've never
I get
understood.
confused
the
by
English
that,
cunts that say I went to public school, they mean a private school.
But is that them trying to hide it in plain sight?
No, it's just what it's
They try to
called. I think.
pretend that it was like, oh, it's public. No,
I don't know what the reason is, but that's what they call it. Fuck knows.
It doesn't make any sense to me, that.
Yeah.
Aye,
I've
it's-
never
State-
got that.
It's
State
literally the
school.
opposite. Aye.
Yeah.
I don't know about anything about school. Really, outside of Glasgow. Basically, I just know there's two types of schools: Catholic schools and Protestant schools. And the Protestant schools, I mean Protestant. I've just learned. So
Yeah, it's
I don't
not.
know.
as-
No,
And then I don't know what a
didn't
grammar school is either.
I don't know what that
Do we get
is.
those here?
No, I think that's an English and grammar
Right.
schools. Maybe.
Let's
I
not
don't
even fucking worry
who
about
knows?
it
Who gives a-
Yeah.
The only school you need is School of Hard Knocks.
University of Life.
Yeah.
Do you get boarding schools here?
You must do.
Yeah, you do, because I've done a gig at a boarding school.
Have you?
Have you?
Yeah, you never done that one in Strathallan, is it called? It's in Perthshire.
No.
No.
Yeah, I've done a gig in a boarding school.
Oh.
It's like doing a prison gig, but for little poshos. But they were like, I don't know what age they'd be.
I feel like that is a cruel thing, and that's like a pure British, like sort of almost like a thing for
It's
the
so
empire or
fucked up,
something,
innit?
isn't it? Of like just people
Send
send
them
their
away.
wains off to fucking boarding schools. Like that's how we've ended up with all these fucked up politicians like Boris and that, because it probably does do a mad number on your psyche, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just not being around your parents.
You thought you were bending over kissing boys' bums. Anyway,
I tell you what, that'll be getting shared in a few Tory WhatsApp groups. Going, remember when we used to do this? The other thing about, do you know, it's always just like a pure like smacks of like just like get arrested is like, see when you see like, let's say it's like a high profile person that's obviously got hundreds of money and they probably do send their kids to private schools, and then somebody tries to cancel them, often for a legitimate reason, and they go, you're trying to take food out my kid's mouth, and you're like, your kid's only starving, fuck
Yeah.
off. Like you've probably got, enough money to fucking last you many lifetimes, and then it's always like, oh,
Can I get that food out their mouth for the silver spoon that's in it? Am I right?
I love your hard-hitting political satire.
I'm a new political comedian now, guys. I'm working a new angle here.
The hosting Have I Got News for You by the end of this tonight.
Me and Angus dating.
Speaking of your new material, we've got one more question we want to talk about. We maybe touched on before, but we're going to kind of discuss it anyway. Is
It's quite a philosophical one again.
a wee bit of philosophical minded, not a philosophical question per se, but it's basically just that: would you prefer to be known as a remembered, maybe
Remembered, let's say.
remembered as a nice person or a great artist?
Obviously, you're both.
In an ideal world, both. I kind of veer towards the nice person thing.
Mm-hmm.
But that's because it's more of a, I don't want people to think I'm a wank or whatever. Like that's more of a self-conscious thing, I think.
But I think the argument would be, if you are, to play devil's advocate, you'll be remembered by your friends and family as a nice person, but then you'll be forgotten. Whereas if you're a great artist, you'll be remembered for longer.
But then with that comes a lot of things. Michael Jackson, Gary Glitter, great artists.
I'm not saying you have to be a nonce.
I'm glad you said great artist, by the way. Nicest people you ever
Lovely
met.
blokes.
But will they be remembered as great artists? We don't know.
Very glad I don't think so.
I seen a weird clip of him on Twitter yesterday,
Yeah, so
actually,
did I.
with Giles Brandreth.
Yeah.
Is that one?
Very
Was that who
creepy.
that was? He looked
Yeah.
so young I didn't recognise him.
Aren't you involved in judging the Elvis Presley's
I
look-alike,
hope I may be,
sing-alike
because I'm a
competition?
bit of an Elvis fan and know a little bit about him.
And no doubt a great fan of Gary Glitter as well.
I'm an even greater fan of Gary Glitter. one of the great superstars.
Obviously, it is tricky to be both, I think. And I think the sad part of trying to become a great artist, I think, would be that you basically do need to be selfish to a large degree, and there's obviously a plethora of people that have not only done heavy bad stuff like your Michael Jacksons and that in the world, allegedly, but like the
He's not going to raise from the
I don't think
dead
so.
to sue you.
I don't want Jermaine coming after me, But like, obviously, you get people that maybe just neglect their families, or are just like, you know, we were saying earlier on about the James Corden thing. Like, you hear these people that are Ellen DeGeneres or whatever, they're just arseholes to people around them.
Yeah.
But like, maybe because if you're so focused on trying to do the best that you hang, which often can be a high pressure thing to do to become, you know, the best at what you do, whatever it is, it comes like that selfishness and individual pursuit comes at an expense of taking people around you for granted, being a bit of an arsehole, blah, blah, blah. Because maybe people don't have the same pressures as you if you're whoever, and trying to operate at a really high level. So I think that would be the trickiest thing, is to try and become great at what you do and still be a good person, because ultimately it's the people that we interact with the most that we're going to leave the most impact on anyway.
Yeah.
But obviously, like, it's all well and good saying somebody's a nice guy, but if they're a shite comic, you're like, well, who gives a fuck? So you kind of want to be both.
And I suppose, like a great artist, you could change people's opinions and stuff for the better, depending on what your art is or whatever. So that could be a better impact in the world than just being a nice person. But I think it's important to try and be decent, even if you are doing something better. And I know it's hard, like you say, but it's not that hard to just say please or thanks or whatever. Do you know what I mean? How hard is that?
Yeah, it almost becomes a choice to be a dick at a certain point.
I think so, I think so.
It's just an ego thing. They're just like, well, I'm a bigger name than this person. I don't need to be decent, you know.
I think a lot of it's so, like, we pay attention to what we value, don't we? And it's if your status, even if it's only in your own mind, is elevated or not, all of a sudden you'll just start treating people maybe below you with, like, you know, like, you'll not even notice you're doing it. But you'll maybe, like, I always remember it was quite a profound thing for quite a daft conversation. But I remember once there's this guy I knew, and he was pure into the gym, and he was quite muscular and stuff. And I'd been going to the gym a wee bit, and I'd lost a bit of weight or something. And I like, this is such a like pure like embarrassing thing to, like, because I just said to him, it was like, odd if like you noticed like I've been going to the gym kind of thing. And he just said to me quite bluntly, he just went, "You don't really notice people that are smaller than you." And I actually thought that's quite profound in a way, because that's kind of true of, like, you know, metaphorically of humans in a way, isn't it?
What a thing to say.
I know.
What I know.
Guy's dead now of a steroid overdose.
Doctor should have listened to his complaints. His heart exploded.
Because I imagine he didn't even realise that was an insult.
He kind of said it in a way that
just like...
But it also kind of was, he was just sort of being honest.
Yeah.
And I was like, I get it.
You can be honest and you can be upfront about it, and that doesn't sound like it was that rude, I suppose.
No.
It'd be more of a thing, it'd be like...
If it was
it's such a
that was,
Mean Girls thing to say.
Yeah,
it's quite backhanded, but
if it was somebody, like, say you're gigging with, like, somebody famous, and you went, oh, like, did you think my set was good? And you went, I don't notice people who are less famous than me, like, that'd be effectively
or I don't watch people, like, below me or whatever. It is quite bang out, but it's like...
But it's just human nature. You'll pay more attention to people that you like or that you're attracted to or whatever than people that you're in it, or that you don't, or you aren't necessarily. So it's, you know, it's part and parcel of being a human, that you'll take certain, you'll always have blind spots and things like that, and it's just, you need to always try and be vigilant with yourself and try and make sure. But I suppose that's maybe when it comes around to, particularly if it's folk that are famous and that you need people around you to keep you in check.
Yeah.
And then if you're going, oh fuck, am I being an arsehole? Realise, because everybody, you know, we all have times where we're, you know, not living up to the standards that we would like to as people or whatever.
Yeah.
And also there's so much ego in the thing of, just to return to the question, but if you are, say, you know, let's say I'm Mozart, right? Yeah.
I often
Who's
think
saying
of you
you're
as the
fantastic
Scottish
musician.
Mozart.
Wonderful composer. We're talking about me centuries after I was dead. But I'm dead, who cares, you know?
Yeah.
You're not there to see your legacy.
Yeah, I never understood that. And like, if you ever watched things about, you know, the ancient Roman fucking empires and shit, so they want to build this legacy. It's like, who?
You're not going to be there, boys.
Yeah, who gives a shit?
Can I take it with you?
About the Gregorian calendar.
What's that ever done for us? I've got a Google Calendar, dummy.
Got it all right here.
I don't need it anymore now. We're on our
Caesar.
phones all the time. You know what I mean?
Caesar was a dumb cunt.
What about, so great artist or nice guy, Mark?
I think you can be a nice person, and you don't.
You
like,
can do both.
It's hard
for
to
sure.
do it to everybody. I think that if I could become a great artist, and there was people that maybe didn't think I was that nice, as long as it was like it wasn't a pure like my
You're a pedo.
family, or like if there's people that are like that don't even know me that well, that would maybe say things that you're not that nice. I think I could live with that, as long as if it was a great artist and I was actually a good person, but maybe I'm just no having to be Mr. Nice Guy to every single
It's
person.
one or the other.
I'm glad you're playing hardball here,
Come
Steve.
on.
Let's grill this guy.
Right, fuck it, great artist. Fuck he's all. Not a nice guy. Nice guys finish last, as far as I'm concerned.
That's what they say.
That way incels lie, if you follow that line of thinking.
What about, what's that mad David Brent quote? Is like, I want to just put a smile on the
Man who put a smile on the face of all he met.
That's what I want to be. I'm going to choose nice person.
I'm going to choose nice person too.
I thought you would go for great artist.
Yeah. Why? Because I'm a dick. That's why I'm trying to be a nice guy. It's aspirational for me.
Well, you say you won't leave it behind, but one thing that will be left behind is this podcast.
Terrifying thought.
When humanity has crumbled after Elon Musk has managed to get Twitter to start a nuclear war, you can still listen to the Somewhere podcast.
And be a couple of
like
cockroaches.
Pompeii. Yeah, blow the dust off the monitor.
If you're aliens watching this in 3,000 years' time, please remember to like and subscribe, and leave a 5-star review on Spotify or Apple Podcasts.
And Mastodon as well.
And Mastodon or whatever else is probably
Toot
there.
us on fucking Mastodon. What was it? Is that what it was? Toot.
Yeah, give us a toot.
That's never going to catch on, is it?
Nah, I don't think
no
so.
way.
We say that now in 3,000 years' time. We're laughing at us for that. And you can also follow us at SomewherePod on TikTok, Instagram, and Twitter while it still exists for the time being. And you can also send us an email at somewherepod@gmail.com if you've got any questions or topics you'd like me and the boys to tackle. Before we go, just a quick plug again for the live shows. Me and Stuart at the moment are both currently doing Glasgow Comedy Festival shows. Stuart, once again, do you want to remind people when that is for you?
Wednesday the 22nd of March 2023, Stand Glasgow. Please come along.
Excellent. And I'm on the 24th of March at the King's Theatre in Glasgow as well, so please do come along and see the both of us.
Two great artists.
Two great artists.
Come and see this nice person at the Leicester Comedy Festival.
If Steve is as nice a guy as he says, he will be attending both of those shows as an audience member.
Laughing along.
And laughing along, so if you'd like to see all of us, that's right.
Of course. I'll check my diary.
I'm not coming to Leicester, I'm sorry.
But anyway, guys, for the time being, thanks very much for tuning in, and we'll speak to you very soon.
Cheers, guys.
Thank you.